Journey into Your Imagination, the second version of the ride, was not well received. Disney knew it needed to be fixed, but the sponsor, Kodak, wasn't going to pay again so soon, so Disney had to pay themselves. The ride closed a year and a half after opening in August of 2001. The very next month, something happened that would kill the tourism industry for a few years and cause the already slim budget Disney had available for the project to be slashed even more.
I don't want to blame it all on 9/11, but it certainly didn't help.
The redo would only wind up having a budget of $8 million, which might sound like a lot, but Disney rides are pretty expensive. Toy Story Mania cost 10 times that, and the majority of that ride is essentially a fancy version of We Play. To save on costs, they had to salvage as much as possible from that second version. The Imagination Institute framing device worked nicely, and it fit the themes of that era of Epcot well. Eric Idle's performance as Dr. Nigel Channing was well received, and the experienced comedy actor was easy to work with. While many of the effects were underwhelming, a few of the optical illusions were very charming and just needed some minor touch-ups. The disappearing butterfly effect has become a standout scene, and the upside-down house was a fun visual. That's about it that could be saved, but that's enough for a solid foundation. Something was still needed to give the ride some much needed fun, energy, and excitement though. It needed Figment. The goofy purple dragon from the original version of the ride made his grand return, but with a few changes. He was no longer the result of Dreamfinder's sparks of creativity, he is now a discovery of Dr. Nigel Channing and the Imagination Institute, and his personality shifted from wide-eyed childlike wonder to more of a mischievous rascal and a foil for the more straight-laced scientist. With new character dynamics in place and plans to refresh what was already there as much as possible, the new ride was born. Journey into Imagination with Figment. Nigel Channing is taking guests on a tour of the Imagination Institute to demonstrate how the 5 senses can stimulate the imagination. But Figment intervenes and causes some chaos throughout until eventually Nigel and the guests learn that imagination isn't something to classify into neat little boxes. It's about turning your thinking upside down and setting your mind free from logic and order. It's still not a perfect ride, most of the effects are still pretty simple and cheap, and the Nigel Channing moon face is terrifying. But this was a big improvement over the second version. It wasn't planned as a permanent solution though. This was meant as a placeholder until a major update could restore it to its former glory, with a 4th edition that matches the scale and charm of the original as a part of the Project Gemini refresh of Epcot in the mid-aughts. Although Project Gemini never actually happened and the major Epcot overhaul has been perpetually pushed back, there have been a few pitches for replacing the Journey into Imagination over the years, but nothing ever came into fruition. Figment himself has really become the mascot for Epcot as a whole in recent years though, showing the value of this ride and these characters. The Imagination Pavilion was featured on the Epcot model in the preview center in late 2019, which seemed to tease a new version was on the way, but that was never officially announced, and with the COVID-19 pandemic, much of the Epcot refresh has been pushed back or cancelled. There's been some other teasers by Imagineers recently though, which seem to imply that there are big plans for Figment in the future. Although for now, our story ends with Eric Idle's reaction to people on Twitter making fun of him for not remembering who Figment is. Thank you guys for watching, I hope you've been enjoying Figment February. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the last weekly Imagination video next week. There's still plenty to talk about with the Imagination Pavilion, so let me know in the comments what you think it's gonna be.